Hey, what's up everybody, Rich Gaming Guy here. So today in this video, we're going to dive back into the original Xbox console that I received from Lukie Games a couple weeks back. Now, if you don't remember that video, I ordered a original Xbox console from Lukie Games, got it, checked it out externally and internally. Externally, it was in pretty good shape. I wouldn't say immaculate condition. I didn't expect it to be though. It's a 20-plus-year-old console. Didn't expect it to be in like new condition, so it had some little blemishes, but nothing that was a deal breaker. Internally, they had replaced the clock capacitor, which Xbox consoles are notorious, at least for the original ones, for having issues where they actually burst over time, crack, and if they leak onto the motherboard, they will ruin the Xbox console. There's one version out there that didn't have issues with the capacitors. This was not one of those, and it had actually been replaced by Lukie Games, so that was great. It was also in good condition within, no massive amounts of dust, a little bit of dust here and there to be expected though, but no dust bunnies, no massive amount of dirt and grime or anything like that. So I was happy with the experience coming from Lukie Games. I did not, however, check to see if they had put new thermal paste in there. The reason I didn't do that was because I wasn't familiar with the layout of this specific version of the Xbox that I received from them. So I actually wanted to do a little bit of research, watch a couple tutorial videos before I actually tried to open everything up and access the heat sinks and actually verify whether or not they had replaced the thermal paste or not. So a bunch of people hit me up reminding me that I didn't check, and it was always my intention to come back here and dive into this console again and check on the thermal paste. So that's what we're going to do in this video today. So let's do that. Alright, so here we are back with the original Xbox console from Lukie Games. You can see a couple blemishes on the top, so it does match up perfectly with that from the original video that I did opening this up, so you know it is the exact same Xbox console. So we're going to flip this over, and we're going to start opening this up. So I'm going to actually fast forward everything so you're not, watching me take this apart for the next couple minutes, but I'm going to take out the 6 screws here, remove the disk drive as well as the hard drive in here, and we should be able to access everything that we need access to. Alright, so we got everything opened up here. You can see what we want to do is actually take this out, and this right here, this one has a clip. This one's clip is actually located underneath the fan, and that's what I saw originally. That's what deterred me from actually opening this up, because I wasn't sure how the clip actually worked, what I needed to do here to properly access everything and not risk breaking anything. So figured it out. It's actually very simple, but just have to take out the 4 screws up here on the top of the fan. And the fan just lifts right off. You can actually throw that over the side. And this clip here, one thing I'm going to point out to you guys, and I'll actually raise this up. I'm not sure if you can see this. One thing that's just initially concerning to me is we do have a little bit of dust buildup on the tops here. That's kind of making me think that maybe this was never taken off before, because everything else in here is very clean. We don't really have any dust on here. So the fact that that underneath the fan has dust on it, yeah, it could be from, just running it, because the fan is right there, so it would suck up any dust and kind of throw it around in there. But might be a, sign that this hasn't in fact been taken apart. So I remember how to do this. There we go. So little bit of dirt on there, not a big deal. I mean, I'm not going to be super picky about this. Let's see. Alright, so let me actually work on this clip here. And these are always a pain. These clips are tough to take off, so I may have to skip ahead a little bit as I wrestle with this. So I just got this clip off. What a pain in the ass it is to take this clip off, because you can see here, all of these actually, I'll actually pick it up so you can see better. It's a pain to get that undone because you have all of these in the way, and you don't want to risk bending those over, because that is going to be extremely bad for literally everything in here. So definitely tough on this model because of, you can see I can barely even get my finger between here. But in the end, we did get that clip taken off. So this actually lifts right off, which I think might be concerning. Let's see. Yeah, that's not too good, is it? That looks like just straight putty on here. This is supposed to be actually, if it was actually replaced on here, this would be kind of gooey. It wouldn't be like this hard sort of putty on here. So I'm going to put that one aside. Not sure if this one's going to come up easy. Sometimes you have to actually pry these off. Oh, that one popped right off too. So that, you can see, has not been replaced. That looks to be original. Really trying to get this in focus here. I'll do it like that at that angle. You can see just hard as a rock here. It actually just feels like putty, like silly putty, and it actually looks like silly putty that's just been sitting on here forever. So that's pretty unfortunate that that wasn't replaced. Now, we did test this out, so everything is functioning properly, but you know, advertising this as refurbished, this is definitely something that you want to see, you know, replaced on here. So I'm going to try to take this off. Not sure how easy that's going to be because it seems to be like fossilized on there. Doesn't seem to have any give, but I'm going to give it a go. All right, so you can see I actually got this one pretty well clean. You can see at that angle, it's actually just drying up there. But I'm using, this is like 99%, so pretty much pure isopropyl alcohol. So I've heard that you can use some other things that actually work better. This has actually taken me about 10 minutes to get it this clean, and you can see it's pretty much perfect there. You can see where, you know, the old thermal paste was on here, but that's not an issue. So I'm going to put this one aside, and here is the other one. This one's a little bit thicker, but it's an overall smaller area. So I am going to start working on this one. And what I'm trying to do here is actually soak this a little bit. So I just coat it on there, and then this is just a plastic little scraper that I have. It's not sharp on the tip or anything like that, so there's no real risk of it scratching. You always got to be careful though. And you can see I'm able to just kind of push it off. So this one's actually coming off much easier than the last one just by scraping it. Now you can see here, it's just like hard putty. This is doing absolutely no good for the console like this. All right, so I got this one done. You can see it's a little bit wet here, but it's drying really quickly. But this one took me a little bit less time, so I'd say about 5 minutes, and I got this pretty well clean. The only thing is you got to just make sure that you don't have any bits of the you know, hard thermal paste, you know, stuck on the bottom, which in this case, because I have this little paper towel down, some of it did stick to that. So I'm going to clean up my area here a little bit, and then I'm going to actually put some new thermal paste in here. I do need to clean a little bit off of the board itself here. I'm going to go ahead and do that, but should be able to get the new thermal paste put on here momentarily. All right, so everything is off and cleaned up within here, and then of course on the actual heat sinks over here as well. So I'm going to be fully honest here. This to clean off was an absolute nightmare. This took me quite a bit of time. I skipped ahead here because just fast forwarding this, it still would have taken you guys a long time to see what I did here. I ended up having to pick around the edges. I've done this before, not on this particular model, so the layout was different. But this chip here has a lot of ridges around the edges, and it was just caked up with this super hard thermal paste. So it took a lot of work. This one was really easy. This one took me about 2 minutes to clean, but it's, you know, the size of like half the size of a dime. This one here, which is literally the size of a quarter, took a long time just because of the edges mostly. The top wasn't too bad, but definitely a lot of work to do this, much more than I anticipated. So everything here is ready to go. I even took a little bit, since I had this out, I cleaned up this edge over here where in the first video I did say there was a little bit of dust. So I just, you know, hit the Q-tip over there, cleaned up whatever could have spilled when they actually replaced the capacitor over there. So everything now is looking really good on here. And I said in the first video, yes, there's a little bit of dust in here, but it's nothing that is, you know, concerning or, you know, a red flag. We're going to have a little bit of dust, and I think a little bit of dust inside a refurbished console, you know, isn't a complete deal breaker or anything to really complain too much about. However, this is, you know, I think complaining about thermal paste not being replaced in a refurbished console definitely warrants a complaint. You know, there's no excuse for, you know, leaving this super hard putty-like thermal paste in here that's doing absolutely no good for a console. You know, especially when they actually took the time to replace capacitors on here and make sure that everything else is put together really well. So I'm definitely disappointed to see that, but we're going to get this fixed up here and, you know, put some new thermal paste on. All right, guys, so I actually thought I was recording, but I just put the thermal paste in here. Just happened to look down, you can see just peeking underneath there. Thermal paste has been actually installed in here, or squirted on here, whatever you want to call that. This one as well. We'll just take a quick little peek under there. There you can see it. So thought I was recording, but just noticed that the red light wasn't blinking. So these are all set, ready to go. I'm going to put the brackets back on to fasten everything in place, and we're going to just reassemble everything really quickly and power this on, of course, make sure everything is functioning correctly and all of that. So bear with me while I just reassemble everything real quick. Alright, so everything is back together. I've got the controller that came with this, so it is a third-party controller. We saw that in the first video. I'm going to even use the same game that we used originally, Legends of Wrestling. So we will eject this. Everything's sounding good in there. You can hear it booting up on my screen. Let me hit my capture card. Alright, so you can see now exactly what is booting up. And we're jumping right into the game, so we are good to go here. I'm not going to bother testing this out on camera, just so I don't bore you with the gameplay, but everything is good now with this Xbox console. Alright guys, we jumped in here, and I wish I could say that they replaced that thermal paste, but they didn't, and that totally sucks because everything else that they did was awesome with this console. You know, am I going to condemn them for this? No. But it's definitely going to knock down the experience considerably because thermal paste is super important to the longevity of a console. If you have that original thermal paste that is just dried out, hardened, it's doing absolutely no good for the console. So you definitely want to make sure that you maintain your console by replacing the thermal paste, you know, after a few years. In this case, it's original, I think, so we're talking about 20-year-old thermal paste, and I'll tell you right now, I skipped through the video and tried to speed it up so I wasn't draining a ton of time, you know, having you guys watch me chisel this stuff off, but it was actually a nightmare to get it off. On the actual bottoms of the heat sinks, not too bad, One was harder than the other. The one that had more of the thermal paste on it was definitely harder to get off. The smaller one actually scraped off quite easily. Now on the actual board itself, really tough to get it off because they had put so much on that it actually went around the sides, and it was just hard to get to all of the surface, especially in such a confined space. So I wish I could say, hey, it's a 5-minute process, why didn't they do that? I get why they didn't do it, because it wasn't a fun process, but to somebody that should be doing this on a regular basis, it wouldn't have taken the 25 minutes or so that it took me. It would probably take them 5 to 10 minutes. So while it's not a fun process, it's what should be advertised when you say refurbished. Thermal paste is a big part of refurbishing, so you know, here I was thinking that they did a 100% great job on refurbishing this console. Turns out they did about 80-85% of the refurbishing process here and skipped over what was definitely easier than replacing the clock capacitor for sure, which requires soldering and a good amount of time. This, you know, like I said, 5 to 10 minutes, probably 15 for somebody that does it often is all it would have taken. They probably also have more tools than I have to do this, because they should be doing this on a broader scale, but you know, it is what it is. Prior to knowing this, I would say my experience with Lukie Games was absolutely 10 out of 10. Now I'm thinking it's more like a 6 out of 10 in all honesty. I paid over $200 for this console, and again, up until this point, I thought that it was worth that. Now I'm starting to think, you know, the fact that they didn't do the thermal paste, maybe we'll give them a pass on it because maybe it was just like a one-off issue, but it also could be a situation where there's smoke, there's fire, and maybe this is just something that they try to sneak away with not doing because they don't think people are going to dive this far into the console. Yeah, they might open up the console, but are they going to take the brackets off? Are they going to take the heat sinks off? The average person probably isn't going to do any of that. So kind of shady, kind of disappointing, or not kind of disappointing, very disappointing, but you know, at the end of the day, I came back in here to check this out. I said I was going to do that in the comments from people that asked me if that was the plan. So here I am. I'm relaying the information to you guys. Let me know what you guys think, though, about Lukie Games not replacing the thermal paste inside of this Xbox console. So hit me up in the comment section. You guys know the drill, though. Smash the thumbs up button on the video if you enjoyed the content today. And of course, hit that subscribe button to stay in the loop for all future videos here on the Retro Gaming Guy YouTube channel. Thanks for watching. I'll see you on the next video.